So, ooh, that's a cool bird. When I'm out in nature, whether it's my yard or someplace else, I can find lots of things to do. So I want to show you some of the things that I might do out in my own yard. One thing I like to do, you don't have to, is have my own nature journal. I haven't decorated this one yet, but I will. A lot of times naturalists like to start by just jotting down the date and the weather and writing observations of what's going on around them. Sometimes we write down things that we find or draw sketches, so there's a lot of different things we can do. So I'm going to start with just jotting down our date and the temperature and the weather. So right now the sun is just starting to come out a little bit, partly sunny, or I could sketch that. So that's something you can do. And if you keep track of it every day, you might start discovering some really cool things about weather patterns. There's a lot to do out here. So for one thing, I picked my favorite tree in our yard to sit under. This is a weeping willow tree, and right now it doesn't have its leaves on it, but if I look close I can start to see places where the buds for the spring are starting to come out. And now they're way above my head. Here's one. So there's little tiny buds on those branches, and those are going to open up and make tiny little new leaves. That's an observation I might write down or I might draw. On the ground you'll notice a lot of the leaves that fell from this tree in the fall, and we like to let our leaves stay where they land if we can, because those leaves, and as they pile on, they're going to decompose and they're going to make new earth again. And that means that when trees drop their seeds, or other plants, their seeds blow over here, they'll have some nice dirt to grow in, so then we get new trees and new life growing. In terms of just being out here, I have a stump. Stumps can be fun to climb on, so I might work really hard to flip that guy over. Ooh, there might be, ooh, look who's living underneath. I was expecting to walk on the log, but instead I'm going to look at what's under it. Oh, cool. I didn't know all these guys would be alive right now, or awake right now. I knew they'd be alive. So we've got a lot of different life in here. It looks like we've got some centipedes and some little fungi, little fungus, little tiny mushrooms. And a slug, and some kind of little tiny worms, and there's an earthworm. All kinds of critters under here. These guys are decomposers. Oh, there's a roly-poly. So they are helping to turn this dead piece of tree trunk back into earth again. He's not doing his roly-poly thing. Usually they curl up in a ball, getting their name roly-poly. Come here, you. There. Look at all those legs. Wonder how many legs they have. You don't have to know all the answers, but it can be fun to find all the cool things that are happening outside that you might not even know are there. All right, you go back here. There we go. Well, I was going to climb on the stump, but now I want to look at all the cool things under it. Did you guys see all this cool stuff under this piece of bark? It was attached to this log, and then when I turned the log over, look at all that. Oh, you can see the underside of these mushrooms. Those are called gills. So some mushrooms have gills underneath and some have pores. I don't know a ton about mushrooms. I'm just starting to learn about them, but I think they're really interesting things because they are not plants and they are not animals. They are somewhere in between. And they are helping to break down this dead piece of wood and turn it into soil again. Well, they probably don't want to be exposed to the light much longer, but I don't want to squish them. So I'm just going to flip this over. Oh my gosh, look at that. Big earthworm. He's pretty cold, or she, or it, but still alive. It looks like there's some other kind of worms or caterpillars or larvae. I guess they're larvae. Caterpillars are larvae. Underneath there. I wonder what this is. It's coiled like a shell, but it's some kind of critter. I don't know the names of all the critters, but you don't have to know the names of everything to enjoy it and explore it and have fun and to learn. Let's see what else is found out here. by my favorite tree. The tree itself, I think, is really interesting. I like looking at the bark and noticing its differences and finding other bark that kind of looks like this. I noticed there's some lichen growing on it, this green stuff here. And it's growing pretty close to these pine trees. I wonder which one is going to grow fastest. Which one is going to get the most sunlight. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. All right, what's next? Pine cones. These are cool. So this is one way that trees drop their seeds. They have seeds inside the pine cones and then they drop, and if they've got dirt underneath, they're going to make new pine trees. So we're hoping to let this all just do whatever it does in nature, and then we can watch new trees grow. I just noticed a feather. I wonder who was in this tree. Little tiny downy feather. So these little downy fuzzy feathers are the kind that birds use to keep warm. So these feathers are going to be underneath the other ones. It's like wearing an extra layer under their outside feathers to help keep them nice and warm. Well, I don't know who that feather came from, but some kind of bird. All right, well, that is just a short little idea of ways that you can explore outside. You can go back in and jot down those things or draw pictures. There's a lot you can do with those. So we'll be making more of these as we go. Have fun.